This time on Ask Radrat number 55, we're talking about coming out of retirement and fully symmetrical decks. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Radrat Video. Here I talk about all kinds of topics from around the skateboarding world, teaching you something new about skateboarding 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I do trick histories, game reviews, and I also answer your questions on this series, Ask Radrat. So today I've got a few questions. The first one, it's 2 of them that came from Zio Alexo. I'm going to answer them backwards. He asks, what are your opinions on extreme sport showcases like Dew Tour and X Games? So I've talked about this a bit before. You can see that right here. But real quick, in general, I think if you want to compete, you want to make skateboarding into more of a sport, more competitive, I think you're totally free to do that. There's no wrong way to enjoy skateboarding. If you want to do that and that's what drives you to get better, go for it. And if you like watching it, that's fine too. Personally, I'm not huge on it. I don't really watch them. I used to watch the X Games and stuff a lot, but that was back in the day when it was a lot harder to find skate footage. You know, it was like you either watch the X Games or you buy the next video on DVD. You're not really watching new stuff on YouTube all the time. So for me, that kind of made those competitions lose a little bit of their interest, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it if that's something that you are into, although a lot of people will argue that point. Your second question was, what retired or inactive skater do you want to see make a comeback? So I've got 3 answers for you. Maybe only one of them is what you're looking for, but the first one is PJ Ladd, and I've talked about him a little bit before too right here. I know he's not gone. He's still skating. He still puts out footage and stuff. But I want like 2002 PJ Ladd. So he put out his part in Wonderful Horrible Life. Amazing video part. One of the best video parts ever made. But ever since then, it's been more about just doing basic stuff really well instead of really being creative and interesting. So I miss the way that he used to skate, although he didn't actually go anywhere. So with that being kind of a cop-out, I got a couple more answers. Second is Louise Barletta. He did have a part in 2012, and it was really good. And what I really love about his skating is just the way that he does everything so fun. Like it's just, he just kind of goes and does something because it would be fun. So he'll be doing a line, maybe there's some stairs, he'll just jump off his board and walk down it, or he'll slide down the handrail on his butt because, you know, he just wants to do the next trick. It's not about doing something serious and hardcore. It's just like, you know, it'd be really fun if I went and did this weird thing over there. And his video parts are always so much fun, and so, you know, they really make you think the way that he skates something a lot differently. So he used to have a lot of really good video parts. I know he's getting a little older, but it's slowing down a little, and I would love to see more out of him. The last answer, maybe something more along what you were looking for, is Dave Mayhew. He hasn't had anything since 2000. He was in The Storm by Osiris, and he had some of the most interesting technical stuff. This was at a time where tech was just kind of starting to come back. Like all throughout the 90s, it was all about handrails. I remember reading an article, it was an interview, and they're talking about Transworld. And they said the only thing they would ever publish, if you sent them a picture, it had to be handrails and grass. So you wanted to be able to see a handrail, you wanted to see the grass around it, and then a guy doing a trick. And like that was skateboarding. And so around 2000, you see a guy doing like a tail slide, impossible out, and all kinds of really crazy stuff that was really kind of mind-blowing for me at the time, at least. So I would love to see what he could come up with now. I'm not sure how old he is anymore, but he's one of the guys that I really liked from back in the day. All right. Second question is from Magnus, and he wants to know, why is the nose generally bigger than the tail, and why are twin tail decks not more common now that a lot of people skate almost equally good regular and switch? So this is a really good question, because if you think about it, if you can do all your regular tricks switch, why is your nose different than your tail? And I know there are a couple of brands that make symmetrical decks. There's not a lot. If you know of any, list them down below, because it's hard to find them. You search symmetrical decks, you don't really find anything. I know Baker, supposedly one of their newer lines just so happens to be symmetrical, but they don't really talk about it. Creature also supposedly a few years ago has some symmetrical boards as well. But I think that makes a ton of sense to do it that way. My freestyle board is symmetrical, but that's a little bit of a different story. But with street, you know, like you're saying, if you're skating equally well, why do you have to do things differently? I know some people will skate their board the same way either way. Like they'll always use the tail to pop with, whether it's regular or switch. But the problem is in a line, you do a frontside flip, now you got to do a shove it so that you can do a switch trick. So I'm not sure why they're really not all that popular at the moment, and I don't think they will be either because shaped boards are getting more and more popular. So that's the new thing going forward, not really, you know, sticking with the popsicle shape quite as much. So I'm not really sure how that's going to go, but you asked why it is that way, and the biggest reason, there are two that I could think of, is just the fact that if you're starting on the tail, the nose needs to be a bigger target. So if you think about doing a 5-0 versus a nose grind, you pop the tail, your foot's already by the tail, you land back on the tail on the 5-0, no problem. Nose grind, you pop the tail, you have to slide your foot up, then land onto the nose. So if it's bigger and wider, then it's easier to do that, which makes sense. And I get it, but it's clearly not necessary considering that people do all that same stuff switch. And the other major reason it's bigger is to catch your foot when you slide it up. So a kickflip or an ollie or whatever. If you have a big nose, it can pull it up and level it out more. So there's a video by Mike Osterman where he and Stowe Strauss, they're skating both a single kick, like flat nose freestyle board, and a regular freestyle or a regular street board, and doing like kickflips and stuff on it. And it's interesting to see like how much harder it is to level out a board without a nose. So the bigger the nose is, the easier it is to, you know, catch the corner of it and make the board tip back in the air. So that's one of the other things. And then the fact that it's bigger and longer means that it has to be steeper so that it still pops at the same angle. So I don't know, for me, I think symmetrical is a really good way to go, and I always try to seek them out if I can, but that's kind of just the way it is right now. So that's it for this time. Ask your questions for next time below, either in the comments or on Instagram or Twitter. There are links to those in the description. Until next time, here are some more videos that I did recently you might want to check out. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on learning something new about skateboarding 3 times a week. Until next time, thank you for watching.